moving to oneness. Nourishing curiosity. Embracing differences. Becoming one.
Everyone, I'm having a great time speaking with my guest already. I'll introduce him to you in a moment, but I can share you something. Follow your instinct, or follow your intuition. The moment you want to reach out to someone, just do it. You never know what can come out of it. And too often we hold ourselves back. And I've include myself with this. I'm learning also much more to reach out. There will be surprises of a sound, of energy from Spain, from Poland, and so many other cosmic moments and cosmic wisdom will be shared with you. So stay tuned. I'm Meilin, your host of the Moving to Oneness podcast. As I said, my guest is fascinating. I was on Facebook, as many of you are on a regular basis, and I saw him create something where I felt, ooh, he is creating instruments of the future. And so I had to reach out, and I'm so happy that my guest said yes to be on this podcast today. So hello, Tom. Welcome to Moving to Oneness. And you're sitting in Spain at the moment. You're traveling the world and giving concerts and teach. So, and the fun part is, everyone, if I look at the picture, you're listening on a podcast, you have to tune in, because above him, it has changed a little bit since I've spoken with Tom. But there is like a little Raumschiff, I call it. I can't remember what the name is in English, but the clouds are hovering over him. And it is really like has a whole team in the sky supporting him, bringing his information out to you right now. So again, hello, Tom. How are you?
Hi, hello. Thank you for nice welcoming. I'm fine, thank you. Yes, we are at the moment with my wife in the southern part on the Atlantic Ocean near Tarifa. Yeah, we had a couple of concerts this week nearby, so we kind of decided to stay in this place.
Yeah,
which you can
Tarifa
see
is a beautiful place. A lot of I went there twice, everyone. I have my husband is a surfer, windsurfer, and kiter, and my son learned kiting right very close to where you are, Tom.
This is the mecca of the kite surfing and surfers. So basically you can meet people from all around the world here who are fascinated by playing with this kind of natural elements of the fire and the air and water. So it's really like
and
powerful.
Interesting thing in my life, if I look back where I've been, and the wind was always very important, even though I didn't like the wind so much, especially if it blows strong. So for my husband to even go on the water, I was always there. And later in my life, looking back now, it was very shamanic. I always communicated with the wind, bringing information in. And there was an interesting story when I was in Tarifa. We went for dinner one evening, and I suddenly had to go outside and I went to the car and I had to start to sing a song, and I sang a song. That was the first time I did it middle of a parking lot. I mean, it was beautiful. It was also a parking lot out of sand. You could overly see the water. And it was a song of an ancient civilization that had lived there. You could feel it. It was a song about separation. Everyone, Tarifa is on the most southern tip of Spain, and you can see from that village or city, you can look over the Mittelmeer, the Mediterranean Sea, over the Straits of Gibraltar. That is the water area that's
Yes,
where the water from the ocean goes into
goes
the
to Mediterranean. Yes.
and you see Africa on the
Yes,
other side.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
So today we actually have a very clear day, so I don't know if I would be able, but yes, sure, probably.
Yeah, look, he's showing it
the
to
mountain and the boats that you see on the other side. This is Morocco. This is Atlas Mountain. I don't know if you can see anything, but
No,
No.
I saw something in everyone else too. You could see the mountain range. And yes, and that was the song about it. This was really a little bit of a sorrow and what I felt in that time of the separation through the water. Once upon a time, people were able to walk all the way from the north down to Africa, or to stay over the winter. And also in that song, it was to reconnect us again, for people to not feel so separate anymore. So it's not just the land that got separated, but people as well. And that song brought a lot of healing for people to come together and to reconnect on a new basis, a new way. And you do that with your music. You connect people to themselves, Tom, and everyone. He does have a nickname, and because you have to pronounce your last name yourself. So Soltron, right, which was given to you by
Yes, in 2009, I think, or 8, that was one of the 3 trips that time we did around the world, traveling in New Zealand. And one evening we had a lady who was saying that she does not have money to pay us for the concert experience, but she would like to attend very much, and she will give me some channel that she received. And yeah, and she looks very scary with all tattoo on the faces, and like a really proper Kiwi witch, I would say. And after concert, she came to all of us and she gave us a name and simple explanation about, like, what our path is, or like what's the aim of our destiny in this lifetime. And I have this letter still at home, and I have to say, like, looking backwards all these years, she was absolutely, like, touching the essence of it, which maybe at that time I was still not, like, such a believer of many of these things. It was still, like, after maybe 6-7 years of my transformation and moving into the path that I want to just follow the sound and doing what I love. And so anyway, the name she gave it to me, it was Soltron. So it was also very, like, coincident with another aspect, that quite often people had a problem to announce me or say my surname, which is Czartoryski, and it's very actually ancient surname, Slavic in Poland. That has very long tradition, but it seems to be very, like, difficult to pronounce by many people. So once she gave it to me and I felt the power of this name, she brought it, I really felt like it's absolutely resonate with me, and I start to use it. And this is sort of like artistic, maybe nickname, I would say, in the past. Now I feel it's just part of my name, and yeah. That's all.
Yeah, I love it. I think you're so right. When I read it this morning again, I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I do that always, the name. and it really has strength.
Is that,
But you're such a gentle, beautiful being, but it is the pureness, I think, why you're so gentle, and of the energies and the wisdom that you're bringing to this plane, onto our planet. So this Soltron, you just, you, it's like you embark, but it sounds a little sci-fi-ish too, but it has this strength of someone who knows what is going to happen. Yeah. But then
well,
it comes so beautifully with as you said at the beginning, you want everyone to feel peace, and I thought, and then you're so fine, and this finesse, this purity, but it is pointed, so it's like you go like whoop, and then tick, yeah, to make a lot of energy, a lot of, if I'm gonna have to use the word, a power. You bundle it, you press it down, and you make it soft, but it's still very precise and transformative in a very, very gentle way. So I love that. I love that about you.
Yes, I mean, what I meant to saying peace, I meant to say not that everybody will find out, you know, the peace, the Om Zen peace, let's say, because I think this is not the goal of this life, this realm we are living in. My feeling is more about like find the peace in terms to accept, you know, who you are, whatever you're going through, you know, yourself, the choices you have made, you know, the consequences you've been kind of gather and received, and yeah, basically just like, you know, find yourself with the breath, with whatever comes, and I also like, from speaking very much from my own experience, you know, life has treating me in a very different way in many different lifetime periods, and after 20 or so, oops, sorry,
No worries.
I have to switch off just something. Okay, so getting back, after where I was getting, yes, after so many years, I realized it's not about, you can't change certain experiences that you agree before you came into this plane, because despite how many people believe, especially in the new age, that, you know, I have a power to create my life and, you know, like create every detail and this and that and that. I don't believe that. I believe we have a power to embrace whatever we decide before we came into this plane. That we have, we can find acceptance and understanding to the recent situation, experiences we're passing. That we have a choice basically, or to be bashed and smashed by the life experience, or we can stand up and say, okay, I know I put myself into it, like, you know, into this experience, and I'm taking completely responsibility and taking this into, you know, my heart, into my experience, no matter what the consequences, let's say, an emotional or feeling world are, because this is like the true nature of us, I feel, the feelings and emotions of human being. This is the essence, not thinking. And this is another part that through the music, it helped me so much, myself and close people and many people that we play for, to realize that you can go inside, confront many of these experiences that maybe were not easy for you, that maybe you haven't made peace with them, that you have not embraced them yet. And you can do it without mind, without thinking, without judging it, without, putting in this pendulum kind of right, wrong, black, white, good, bad, kind of, dualistic experience, rather than just feeling it, whatever the feeling and emotion brings you. Sometimes might be, sadness, loss, or, anger or frustration or joy or love or anything is okay. I believe in this world we came actually for this experience purely, and yeah, and it's just awareness of these moments make us actually become more connected with the essence,
Yeah,
whatever that is.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're so right. Life is simple. Our natural state is to live simple, with ease, with this calm. And our purposes are mostly very simple as well. Is you bring beauty or peace or harmony and balance, and they're very soft and warm and gentle. And we are these kinds of beings too. And often, if the thinking starts, right, we go into our head, we don't feel what is our surrounding anymore, what is with us, within us, and how we are connected to everything. And I love that you mentioned the music, because music, we can just let ourselves fall back or fall into the music, to fall into sound. There are no words. There's so much attachment to words, depending on what kind of experiences one had, one culture we grow up in, right?
Obviously, all the
Or
conditions,
the parents.
all the conditions.
Genau,
Yes.
the conditions. And so the music starts and helps us to vibrate ourselves a little different, and to go again in this more soft, gentle, expanded state. So share more about how you got into starting and playing and creating sound.
Oh, I mean, I think I started very early, like when I was 7 or 8, my connection with the music. And in fact, the first time I was like deeply touched was the organs in the church. I think I was about 7 or 8, and there was special player that came to our local church and played Bach on the really magnificent church organ that we used to have that time in the church. And after his one track, I was just like, I wasn't there. I was blown off completely by the power and the beauty of it. And I think that was like first moment when I felt like, wow, that was like meeting with the God, or that was like, experiencing something like on a higher level of the place where I grew up and where I live. It was almost like, oh, wow, this is a nice vehicle to some other reality. So then obviously we did not have much possibility to grow up within the music in my childhood, because life was hard for us, and I grew up in communism times. So we had to more, connected with the land and with the taking care about survival things and have things to eat and so on. But once communism ended, and we received this great push from the West towards consumptionism, and like, yeah, suddenly all this, lacking everything during the communism, and suddenly, like, you have access to it, and everybody's freaking out because this is so wonderful. We can buy whatever we want. We just fill the fridge with the things. We didn't even eat it, but it was just like such a also, condition for many years that one extreme turned into another extreme, like after some years. And this is what I see quite often: when there is one extreme on the beginning, there is another extreme, like, and we can see how this world creates these polarities from one, and more extremist is one side, then the most extreme gonna bounce on the other side, and so on. But anyway, I went into this conditioned world of, family and making money, business, children, system, educations, but through the system, through the system, through the system. And when I was 28, I reached the level when I realized that actually I did not have much choice, because doctor told me like, okay, man, make a peace with your family, because you have like 2 years to make order with your life, because if you continue life as you continue, you're gonna kill yourself very soon. So that was like big shift, threat. On the beginning was just a threat to me, and I felt like, what have I done? What's wrong? Like, I've been just following uh, the programming that, that my family, the system, environment I grew up just offered me, basically. But I got lost in that very much. And yeah, and at this point, I just realized that, okay, if this is my last 2 years, I probably gonna choose the best way I want to spend this life to this last 2 years. And I decided to make lots of changes. Some of them were very like rapid, and I know I would make them now much smoother and slower, but at that point I felt I have to cut off certain things and like begin new life for this short period of time. But it turns that actually it serves me very well, and everything just expand and postpone, and I start to feel much better and better and better, despite some other issues in life or feelings that was difficult, because I divorced as well, and there was many different things, like all jumping into that change and like not letting me out, or trying to hold me through these conditions, like not being able to self myself free from myself and from these conditions that I've been like programmed so deeply. Yes, and I remember that time very strongly, that I just pray every day, like for something or someone that something will show up on my way. I always believe that, and I pray rarely, but when I pray always like with full attention and energy of it, and then I had a dream that I'm meeting, one guy who offered me passport in an airport, Puerto, oh, I mean, just
Airport?
an airport, yes, an airport. And yeah, and a couple of days later, I met a guy with a gray beard, and he played the gong to me and Don Conroe, and actually we spent 10 years later traveling together and doing things together, and that was pretty changing kind of aspect in moving from the conditions that I grew up to some new level, and or different level. And yes, and then since then actually everything went so fast, so strong. I started to play the gongs before I attend also some courses with the singing, bowl massage. I always like, I play in a punk rock group when I was 17, so, and I listen lots of music. I used to DJing, so the music was always like, part of my life. But that time I actually went into playing the music. And I never been educated. I never finished any musical education in my life. I never went to, conservatory to learn piano or guitar or any of these instruments. But I always had a drive to play with them. And obviously, I'm aware I'm not like super player. I'm just more like person who experiments with the sound. But in this world of sound, what I have found out that actually the important is transmission of the feeling, rather than how you can go on the guitar and do the solo things, or technical mental stuff is not so much important. And also over like 20 years of traveling around the world and visiting many places, very like indigenous places, unique places, I have noticed that their music is very simple. Their music is like so powerful, but is not really hooked to our modern concept of the music that we have share. And actually I realize how beneficial I am because I have not attended this programming of the musical education in the school, you know, which frankly we have like lots of people who attend our workshops who are musicians, educated musicians, and they want to move into improvisation, which is so hard for them because they've been they train their brains so well with the repetition, not with creativity, with repetition. And on the top, you have this like, you know, competition where actually they perform how well you can repeat somebody who create a musical piece 200 or 300 years ago or 100 years ago, which is absolute nonsense, because also I feel like that music is a channel was really good in that time for that person who was channeling this music and making it, but obviously it's more like, I don't know, from this perspective, I don't want to sound like, you know, conspiracy terrorist, but I felt also like one system took the music and realizing how powerful tool it is, they wanted also somehow massage and make it a system from the music so we can find another tool how to program people, you know, in another like square, narrow way of thinking what the music is and how the music should be, because this is also like, I completely understand person who comes on our concert and say, you know, that moment was absolute cacophony. I could not stand it. And I completely understand him, but I wasn't that same place 20 years ago or 15 years ago when I performed with the Maori people, which they don't perform or on like, you know, chromatic scales built on 13 tones in an octave, but, you know, like a scale that has no division between tones, that every tone is possible and it's a part of the life that we hear. And I always kind of bring this one story that is so like it's describe everything, because also in the world of improvisation, our major kind of improvisation concert where we invited local musicians to join us, and before we perform for people we have a couple of hours or day or two rehearsal together. And before the concert we usually put our instruments out and we listen each other, like what play, who have what instrument, what he can play, and how I can support this person, this instrument. And quite often what we do, we sorry, because I have incoming. Okay. And quite often what we do, we check like, oh, what tuning you have with this instrument, what tuning you have with that instrument. And with my flute, I came to one of the guys who was having a bunch of really bone flute made from the whale bones with just 3 holes, completely tuned to their feeling, without any tone particular, without any hertz, you know, without any scale particular. And I was asking him, so what kind of tone this flute is? And he took me out. We came out of the house of prayer, Vaka or Taka, I don't remember the name, but we came out of this house of prayer, and he said, listen. And I was listening, and there was like, you know, forest behind us with the birds, and there's like beautiful sounds of nature with lots of birds and wind. And he said, can you recognize what tones they are singing around? And I said, not really. And he asked me, do you feel it's a harmony, this diversity of the sounds that you can hear? And I said, yes, absolutely. And he asked me if we can perform in such a way. So that was like big switch inside my head towards my approach to the music. And of course, I'm very curious person, so I also try to check all this, solfeggio frequencies, 132 vs 440 and all the stories, and not because I'm big fan of them. I think it's more mind kind of we call it at our home new age mumbo jumbo, like this all commercial story that they sell well, that you can create new system on it, that you can attract more people into it, but on the end what is really important is not important whether you perform in 528 hertz or 440 or 432 hertz. Is important the feeling that you carry with your sound, and what actually this feeling that you brought through the frequency were offering to the people who listen. And this is only the thing that matter. And actually, after creating this solfeggio meditation tracks, I spread them out to many people and I asked them for feedback. And the response was amazing, because I put intention to each track according to, let's say, this solfeggio frequency intention. But I personally cannot prove and cannot say anything that this frequency has anything to do with it. I feel the intention that the track was created with was actually working with it, and this is what people felt, because also they read the title. It was their intention to go into it. So it's like intention actually can help you to connect with the certain aspects and feelings, and maybe it's even ruling our life, ruling our planet, our our even common experiences. So definitely intention, but not in a term of intellectual thinking on that frequency and that frequency and that frequency. And of course there are particular frequencies that are very chosen one, very high pitch, for example, that we can use in the surgeries in hospital, that we can break the stones in your gall bladder, for example, or we can destroy the stones in your kidneys, for example, or something, things like this. But this sounds are rather, ultrasounds. They are not really sounds that we can perceive with our external hearing. And also we are not just the antenna that basically regulate between 10 and 25 kilohertz, 10 hertz and 25 kilohertz. We can hear much wider and feel it much wider spectrum of the all ultra or infra sounds that are beyond the range of the hearing, but we still sense them. That's definitely no doubt for it. But it's important that we don't get, we don't put too much attention into the numbers, into the frequency, into this mind involved, because this is also where I think the recent picture of the world is like we lost our mind. Like, we got somewhere into this place where the madness of the madness, repeated the madness, believing the madness, continue the madness, and everybody say, oh yes. And there is no reason with all of that, but still you're gonna find this madness with people who say, no, of course it is. This is science. This is this is that. It's very like, yes, this is obviously not the world we live in. We face this world, obviously, especially now when we travel and we meet people who have different like life approach. We confront this also into our kind of approach, and also try to be embrace it and kind of understand their place of madness, or this mind involved thing, because this is all just with mind.
Yeah. And you take him out of it. I just saw 2 short videos and I just knew I had to reach out to you. One was you were playing the gong. I have heard a lot of gong music in my life. These tones and the way you played this huge gong were so different. You were becoming one with the gong. You just didn't hit the gong. Not that other people just hit the gong. I don't want, but there was something like you were really sensing the entity, gong entity. You were part of, you could feel the metal and you were playing together. It's like you were stroking the gong. You were very gentle to the gong. You were, I'm going to say, almost like a lover to the gong, right? And this loving relationship that you built up to it created sounds of, I'm not going to even say magic, it sound makes it too small. It transports, it expands the listener. It expanded me right into, again, I'm going to talk about that natural state where my body can be exactly how it loves to be. That the cells go into its own vibration again, that the vibration they love. And it's this just exhale that you can live without even having to take a breath in again.
Yes,
and this was so beautiful.
Yes, that's the purpose of the sound bath in our kind of approach, that actually listener can completely let go and surrender. But often it's really connected with the letting go. So the kind of, I don't know, more also looking into and feeling my own body, language. I see it's everything about, you know, tension release, inhale, exhale, and it's like life is built out of this two, the factors that we always know will happen. There will be always tension, there will be always release, absolutely. And the same within the music and with our approach, we come into not just the gong, but I think to all other instruments that we bring into the sound field. That part of them we use to create this tension, even it's like unpleasant. But when you become aware of this feeling of tension inside you, you simply letting go yourself into it and letting out as well. So after letting out this tension, you are able to go again into this deep peace and inhalation, you know, like, and release. So I think these factors are like, they are not separated from each other, and it's like part of our sound journey is always tension on beginning, and then we move into more chill and relaxed part where you can really like, yes, and then suddenly you're gone. And this is this moment of complete surrendering where actually anything can happen. Anything can happen. You can heal your body, you can heal your feelings and emotions, you can heal yourself, you can meet the ones that left already, you can talk with your close one that are separated from you miles away. It's amazing, this field, when you are inside yourself in this, you know, deep chill state, everything seems to be possible, like in a dream state, basically. Yes.
Yeah, no, you what, that's what you're doing. It in a way, it is a ritual. If I look at it shamanically, right? These tones we use in our group, the drums, but the drums are overtones and they take us really quickly into the vibration where we feel
yes. Is the
our solitude.
Is the constant beat, actually, the constant beat that gives us this trance that leads us into this, you know, path, whatever it is. And we also in some way we play on the gong in a trance way, quite often even with the beat. It's just with the soft mallet, so you cannot really hear the pum 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 pum, but you can only hear the pulsation tones from the harmonics that come out of the gong already. And like you said, again, it's about your approach to any instruments, because I met actually many musicians that they don't play the gongs or guitar or, you know, this or that instrument that we do or I do or Abi does, but they play their instrument, and I can see and feel whether they giving up themselves completely to this instrument and they become one or not. If somebody does, it's like amazing. You can play on piano 3 keys and you can make something spectacular, you know, like something like really hard taking. So it's not again about this like technical skills, obviously in some way is, but that's another part that we really like to encourage people to go into music and start to realize how big power is behind the music, whether it's simple drum beating, whether it's simple gong playing or singing, or which is I think the most difficult part, by the way, but using music also at our homes to resolve. Yesterday we had our neighbor family from Germany, by the way, here with the 3 kids, and we were jamming for about 1 hour. It was such a like natural flow from tension, drumming, very loud, fujaras, overtone flutes, you know, very like bam, 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 to the level of, oh my gosh, it's so loud. And then at some point we released this energy and we went towards more subtle tones, and we finished with nice lullaby and kids were ready to go to sleep. It was just absolutely perfect. And I feel this offers so much to kind of our daily use life, how we can share and do things together with our kids, how we can, with our friends, with our neighbors, with the community where we live, we can gather together. And it's not about any like, oh, whether it was so musically well or not. It was more about fun, more about sensing like, you know, beat and rhythm, which is very important for kids, and doing together this kind of thing. And it was funny because the father of the children asked me yesterday if I can have a lesson of guitar with the kids, because they attend the lesson, but the teacher, their teacher moved somewhere out and they are not able. And yeah, I said, sure, let's do it. But when they came with the with these 2 guitars, I realized they are not so interested with all this, how to do this and that and that. So we simply improvise by, you know, playing a little bit like a drum on guitar, you know, trying to inspire them to look this instrument from different level, not like a mental approach, like how to do this, rather than just play it and see what's come out, you know, like which is the first level. And I think until you have this curiosity and you fell in love with the instrument, then there is the next level of jumping into more technical aspects, but also just kind of understanding from my way. Once you are curious, you're going to search for it anyway. So you don't need to really push anybody to do this. And one of our daughter, for example, she wanted as well, but she was study very early, you know, violin, and then she went on guitar, and then she dropped everything. And suddenly when she started to write her song when she was 14, she got back to guitar and she started to learn guitar herself, absolutely playing amazingly at the moment, just to her own needs. And one thing she is also grateful, she have not went into the conservatory, because she's also a very free person, and we need to just also find out the how to balance it, how to don't take the free will and the spirit will from those who have it, and have it as a gift to all of us, you know, and not lock it in some right wrong conditions, and not being able to express themselves in a later life, which bring us to the recent situation that we are now in, where majority of the people have no power or free will to stand on and say enough, you know, enough is enough, or like, you know, yes. So on many levels, it's so valuable. It's so valuable just to enjoy and have a fun with the simple instruments and music and singing and chatting and like having this, I don't know, simple approach to the music. This is what's
it is so important. I speak about this a lot, Tom, that we celebrate life. And, you know, we've been separated, pulled apart over centuries, you know, to make us do what others want. as you said also beautifully, even music, when we go shopping, they make music so that we shop more. But I think
Yeah.
what we have to celebrate more is coming together in the house. You can use your leg as a drum. You have hands, any material you can use. You can use your voice to sing. There is no wrong way. I've been saying this also about painting all my life. Who judges? So to not follow the judgment of others, but to follow your heart and to create what you love to do, because there is no right or
Yes, yes,
a
yes.
wrong way. And if you look, I saw a beautiful documentary. They found old caves. Oh, where was it? Was in it was in Slovenia even, where they found old caves where they could see where people had gathered when they were living in cages, caves, but they found tiny flutes. So already at that time, people came together in this sense of community and creating and singing, of cooking and eating together is something very relaxing. And I mean, it's just natural. This is why we live. We don't live to do certain works. We live to be in community with ourselves, to understand ourselves, others, and nature. And I liked another point. I want to share that with people. Our languages, our sacred languages around the world, right? They have certain tones, certain voices. The clicking sounds in South Africa, I'm going to use for an example, right? These are languages that developed from the sounds of the environment they were living in. That's why we have different sounding tones, speeds, dialects.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why, because our world has so many different unique environments and we adapted to it. Some now we don't speak a sacred language anymore, but many of the young generations, they're sensing something is wrong and they want to find out what, and it goes back to sound. If we are not locked into the choir of the world, of the cosmos, right? We have in a way dropped out. The whole world is in it and we humans are trying to find, and that's a deep desire to come in. And then there is always this, I remember when I started, it's a funny thing, Tom, the grand shaman of the southern hemisphere, she was Maori, Auntie Wei. She told me one day that I would be singing and it would start like a creek and then run like an ocean. And at that time I was painting. What am I going to do with singing? I was thrown out of music class because I couldn't sing. So then I did sing first only for the trees in the world, but then when I was courageous enough to sing in front of a small audience here in Nuremberg, someone came up and said, "Oh, Meilin, it doesn't sound the whole time in harmony." And I said, exactly, those moments are when there is a break, when there is some difference, is when it changes or heals something in the body. So, and I'm happy now, that's my life, that's my work, singing different tunes and being open and free enough not to listen what others say, how one should sing. So I can be wide enough, loose enough, calm enough to let come through what desires to be sung, or what is needed in the moment for someone else to be heard. So I encourage everyone, explore and play with your kids. Your kids already know what to do. Because often if we say, oh no, do it different, they stop, they never touch an instrument anymore. So we, as a parent, I invite all of you parents, let them be, and show them also a way to just have fun and to explore tones and sounds, right, Tom, like you did yesterday so beautifully. And what you also create instruments. I saw that one instrument. So please share what happens within you when you create instruments.
Well, I don't know. It's just like I have some visions or some like sometimes I hear the sound or have just play with my imagination basically about the type of the sound that I would like to hear it, or I hear it actually, and then I like to materialize this and see how this is possible. Yeah, I don't know like which instrument you were talking about,
I
but
saw the one that you were just finishing. You put out a post and it like it went upward. Was it?
oh, I
out of
haven't. This is actually not my instrument. This instrument is made by the Bachet family, French family. It's only a couple of them, I think, 8 these instruments around the world. I wanted to make it like this myself, but actually I just put it together. But I did not invent this instrument. But it's unique and it's amazing. It's like I have a very similar instrument at home as well as a singing stone. And this is special granite from the Himalayan mountain that is cut in slices, but hold on one like part in the bottom. And you wet your hands and you rub basically the stone with your wet hands. I think it's on one of the concert on our YouTube channel. There is a little bit of the sound, and on the Divine Land CD there is also like one track just with this singing stone. So that's why actually, because of this instrument, I was inspired by Crystal Bachet, where literally I'm rubbing the same way, wet hands rubs the crystal nodes, the kind of like, you know, cut it to different dimension is representing also different tone, and you can combine the scales. I did actually, I finished 3 years ago a very big project, 16 instruments for KBT. This is a big company that produces like children parks, and that was like my biggest challenge and project in terms of making instruments, especially outdoor instruments that are like, you know, have all this like safety, because it all needed to be like with the regulation of the, you know, EU, and that will sound and will be also like unbreakable basically, so people won't be able to damage them because they will be outdoor. And the waterproof, of course, that's another thing. So that was like a really tough thing to do it, but I have managed, and it was just combination of different, like, you know, xylophones, tubular bells, marimbas, handpans, just in different edition. But the major thing for me, it was actually the tuning, because the company that gave me this opportunity and order to do it, they wanted more that it will be like it will serve education of the music basically for the system, which means chromatic scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, you know, etc. And I did not agree to this, and I wanted to do it actually the way that each instrument will have different scale that will be already there. So whoever is playing this instrument, whether it's, you know, 85-year-old woman or 6-year-old boy, they will just hit whatever key or bell or plate, and it will all sound beautifully and like in harmony or in little disharmony. So I create some sets that are like tension and resolution, and that was also like interesting from that perspective, that some scales you can just with the scales you can play it and you know, set up in a way that somebody, for example, who's going to come to this instrument and go tone by tone on this xylophone or this marimba, is going to create some tension by playing it, and it can feel that tension, and then switch to the other part of the instrument, and there will be resolution, and it will be, you know, nice pentatonic scale or something like descending, really nice. So so that was the goal which I aim, and I had to confront actually a couple of authorities from the university, the conservatorium, because they said, how come we miss this tone here, we miss this tone? And I said the purpose wasn't really to offer, like, you know, all scale that you can come and play, I don't know, any song that you want, but people will come to this instrument and perform what is in there with their intuition rather than, you know, oh, I hit 2, 3 tubes. It doesn't sound good, so I refuse, you know, because this is also like common experience for people when somebody say, oh, I don't have a musical skills, I don't know how to play, I don't know how to do this, I never had, you know, all this conditions, I would say, that we carry about us, that what we can, what we cannot. And this is one first very easy way to stop somebody from opening to the music. When he comes and, oh no, no, this is sounds like cacophony, this doesn't, no, it doesn't sound well, so I drop it. But if you offer simple tone combination, like pentatonic scale based on, I don't know, 3 tones or 5 tones, the same like we share in the Waldorf education, for example, you know, if you give this tone by tone, step by step, actually you learn how to play and enjoy playing the simplicity within the tones, within the, you don't need to create, you know, very complex, difficult musical piece. It could be just da 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 da, and you can just build tension with this and release and slow down and speed up, and just with 3 tones on one guitar chord. I have a song on one guitar chord that I feel is so beautiful, and every time I listen, how come this is just one chord? One chord I'm playing and singing, and it's already beautiful song, and I don't need all this, like, so basically by sharing this, I can say, you know, if I can do it, everybody can do it.
Yeah, your
It's not,
courageousness to share and educate and stay true to yourself, because you cannot
yes,
not do what you love. You're very, and I
yes,
loved watching you, because when you were now starting to talk about the creation of the complexity and changing things, and creating for outdoors and bringing everything together, that it sounds good in any moment, again, the cosmos. And then even if others come that come with hesitance, or right, because they've had experience where they were not allowed, or where they were told they couldn't, and to relearn, to create something that rekindles the
yes,
excitement,
yes,
or
yes.
remember, helps the body remember the natural way of being. And when you were talking, your face changed, your whole body language. So this is you were smiling the whole
Yeah,
time,
well,
you were so
I,
excited.
I'm
I
very
loved
excited
seeing that. Everyone who's
about this.
listening, guys, go and watch the YouTube video so you can see what Tom is putting into instruments, what he is putting in to concert. When you come to Germany, or maybe even close to Germany, I'm going to come to your concert. I want to see you live in action, because you emanate out what we were speaking about, this Soltron and your ancientness, and the connection to, in German we say, den Ursprung, den Ur-source, you know. All of this comes through you, and you're only, in a way, I believe, at the beginning. You're going to share so much with the world. You're rekindling a new way of interacting with music for many, many, many to come. And I'm so happy that you're doing this. I mean, kudos to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you
Thank you.
from my heart, that you're also living the simplicity. You're really living what you're talking about. You are a walking example, as you then also bring this beautiful healing music to all of us, so we can be who we are, that I can be who I am, and that you can be who you are, Tom. We could talk for ages.
Obviously,
And
obviously. Yes.
right, we have to reconnect, and there's many other topics. This is you're so complex. You have such a vastness to yourself. I would love to share that later again once with the audience.
Okay.
But now at this time, how can people reach you or see your videos or buy your CDs?
The
I'll put that in the notes for everyone.
Yeah, so the Tone of Life on the YouTube channel, and there's lots of like from concerts and some studio tracks, and I like experiment a little bit, and I'm also open very much for the new projects. Like 2 years ago, we had a project, for example. I'm not a big fan of VR, but I was just simply asked by create like soundtracks for people who are ill in a hospital. And hospital in England, basically through NHS, wanted to try VR meditation for people who are in bed in like, you know, a difficult state of because of the health, that if this can kind of help them from that place in the hospital, basically. So I was a little bit scared because of the technology and so on. And I feel dizzy personally using VR. I never probably will use it. But I decided to compose this, like, you know, simple meditation tracks, which are on the last CD. You can listen, and there are some really nice chill with the sound of the whales that we've been recording in 2012 in Argentina and Puerto Piramides. And there are some tense, more like movement tracks where you can move your body as well. And so invite you to listen on Bandcamp. You can also download some music if you want to have in your iTunes or things like this. And of course, there is nothing better than real experience. And actually, we don't have proper recording of what we do at the moment, because our live concerts are very different. People, when they come, they lie down, close their eyes. They are much more inward space, and actually we just bring sounds close to the people, many different instruments from also different parts of the world, imitating different you know, attribute of the nature, because it's all about just reconnecting with the nature and with the Mother Earth and with all the sounds that are created by the earth. So, yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I do want to add something. You know, our music can change us. We know music sounds can support people with Parkinson, right? They can suddenly walk better when they have music to connect to. I know in China, they say, you know, the people are doctors, they can sing and they can make cancers shrink. For myself, I have cerebral palsy, so music helps me, my nervous system to be different. It changes even
Absolutely.
me while I sing, and I was invited to sing songs for a hospital in Africa where there are a lot of babies with cerebral palsy like me. So I understood what they're going through, so I sang songs for them. And sound has an extreme power of it creates opportunities for change. So it's really not something just to listen to. If I can give something along, if Tom can give anything along to you today, it is sound is part of us. It helps us be who we are. And if we have tightened up, right, that's why our voice changes, our body, we are in pain, things are happening because we have tightened up and have not been who we are. And both of us are inviting you to gently let go, to use the sounds and the music Tom is creating with his wife, his group, and whoever he comes together with, and all his teachers and all the instruments, they bring the wisdom along, right, in every tone. It's vast. So give yourself that bath of sound and expand into a natural state so you can connect to your own knowledge and live your knowledge and walk your knowledge so beautifully as Tom is doing now. As I said, Tom, you're a living example. And I really want to thank you for taking time out of
You're very
your day
welcome.
and
No, that's
connecting
pleasure. That's
with the
pleasure.
Spanish Tarifa, ocean, wind, and sand. There is something also in those stones. So maybe pick a stone and create sounds with those stones, the ancient. So many cultures have and societies have walked over those stones. So pull out what's within that.
Or it's an interesting analogy because one of my homes, I would say, where I feel always like home is when I'm in the ocean or sea, and I just float, let myself float. I feel like I'm connected with everything again.
Mhm.
So, oops, again. So let's somebody try to. Okay. Yeah, so connecting with the nature is also like listening just by the waves of the ocean. For example, we sleep with the windows open last couple of nights here, and we fall asleep with the ocean waves,
Yeah.
and it's such a lullaby. It's like a gong actually. It's like so like this white noise that we hear in mother's belly, before we come out. And it's amazing how in the water as well, I feel this when I just put my head, ears underwater, and you hear this, blood moving through your body and pulsation of your heart, and you become one with everything. It's like such amazing, even just to imagine that through the waters we can connect with everyone, with everything that is in this plane. Huh?
I think so too, yeah,
Yes.
because we've drank it, we've touched it, we
So
swam in it, and it watered our food.
yes, yes, yes,
So what do you
yes,
have
yes.
a last
It's amazing. It's
sentence
amazing
for
to
the world
experience.
or tone for the world from you, Tom?
Be brave enough to love. Yes, I'm keeping telling myself this every day, especially when I feel like I'm not capable and I'm having, hard moment with myself. And I have this song where I feel like there was the major words that are finishing like, be brave enough to love. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to love. It's hard to accept. It's hard to, just let it go. But every time I do this, I feel again peace with
Oh,
myself, And until next moment, and until next moment, and yeah, and this is how the life continue.
that is a beautiful insight and a beautiful tip and invitation to everyone. Love yourself, love everyone around you, love your children, your partner, your parents, the people you work
Yes.
with, even if you go to the bakery and get some bread, and the plants and the animals. And this brings us all then to the oneness within and to oneness of all. So thank you, everyone. Greetings from
Thank
Germany. Greetings
you.
from
Greetings from Tarifa.
Tarifa. Hola. And thank you for listening to the Moving to Oneness podcast. Do connect with all of us on the Facebook group Moving to Oneness. You can ask questions or share your insights with us personally there. And again, all notes and links to Tom's work you'll find in the show notes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Bye-bye.
the invitation, and thank you for sharing. Bye bye.
Bye, Tom.
Bye.